slide deck.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our 5th and final Hangout on Air. This is, again, New Vision's Cloud Lab. I'm Caitlin, and I have Danita here. And today we're going to be covering extending the power of your GAFE domain with New Vision's add-ons. So if we want to jump right into it, why can't I? If you all want to follow along with us on this presentation, you can access it at bit.ly/GAFE session 5. So what is an add-on? Add-ons are more or less apps for your Google Docs, spreadsheets, forms, and even slide decks. They can extend the basic functionality of Google services to improve your workflow and automate tedious processes. You can always access an add-on through your Google products using the add-ons menu. So if you notice in this screenshot we have here, right next to where it says tools, it will always say add-ons in any Google app that you're in that has add-ons associated with it. So today the add-ons we're going to cover are Doctopus and its brother Goobric, formMule, formRanger, autoCrat, and copydown. So right now we're going to start off with Doctopus, and I'm going to give this over to Danita so that she can walk us through that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. So I'm going to start by showing you and teaching you all about Doctopus, which is one of our most popular add-ons here at New Visions. So Doctopus is essentially an octopus for your Google Docs. As we all know, teachers often have to manage multiple roles in their classrooms. So some of the things that you have to do as a teacher is share and organize and assess your students' writing or your student work in general. Doing that in Google Drive can be problematic because it's hard to keep track of all of your student assignments and have them organized. So with Doctopus, it allows you to create shared student folders. It allows you to create consistent naming structures of your student assignments, as well as your templates that you distribute to your students. This also gives you full control over the sharing configuration. What that means is as your students are working on their projects, when you're using Doctopus, you're able to set the sharing permissions for each student from one platform. As you are doing this, you're also able to differentiate your student assignments and create working project groups. So if you have ever used Google Classroom, you're able to send out an assignment template to all of your students, but using Doctopus, you're able to actually differentiate those templates and send different assignments based on a student's level, especially if you have a student population that's like an IEP program, or if you have Ls in your classroom, you're able to send out differentiated work based on where that student lives and what that student needs in your classroom. You're also able to embargo assignments, which would actually revoke your students' editing rights and privileges. So this is when you're using Google Classroom, if you were to share an assignment out, even if you give a due date, your students can still unsubmit their work and continue working on it. When you're using Doctopus, you can make it so that your students no longer have access to their assignment once you give them a due date, and then as a teacher, you can begin grading without having to worry about students going back in and editing their work. Lastly, Doctopus, it lives on a Google spreadsheet. And the reason why it lives in that home is because what it allows you to do is aggregate all of your student analytics. So you're able to actually track the student edits. You're able to also track the student word count as their writing develops or as their work develops. So on the bottom here to your left, we have our Google Plus community. If you select that link, it will take you directly there, and this will take you to a house of many users, and we have over about 2,000 users in that community. So if you ever have any questions while you're running through this yourself, you can just post your question there. You can also go there to see different use cases how other teachers are using it in their classrooms. To the right, we have the Install Doctopus Now. If you select that hyperlink, it will take you directly to the add-ons gallery where you can install Doctopus onto your Google spreadsheet. So we're going to do a demo of Doctopus so you can actually see the functionality in action. However, prior to doing that, what I want to do is take you into Goobric. And Goobric works alongside of Doctopus, and it's basically the queen of rubrics of the internet. What Goobric does is it's a web app that lives on your app extensions in your platform. So you would not be able to find this by going to the add-ons menu, but rather you would need to go to your apps. And again, I'll show you exactly how to do this because Doctopus has made this very easy for you. And when you're using Goobric, what it does is it allows you to have rubric-based grading on your Google Docs, So you can track your student growth over time, and you can also streamline your standardized feedback and your revision cycle with your students. This allows you to, instead of just using a numerical-based response for your students, you can actually create a standards-based rubric or even a checklist so that your students know how to improve on their writing themselves. You can also automatically provide students with their scores on their assignments. So what will happen is, as a teacher, as you submit their scores, your students will receive an email letting them know that they have received that score, and the rubric will be appended to the exact document or assignment that the student is working on. Aside from this, one of my favorite features is that you're able to create voice comments for your students. So you may have students in your classroom, and as we all know, they respond to different modalities. So aside from seeing that written response, they actually can hear your comments as well. And students get really excited to hear that from you. So there's also a new feature that has been added to Goobric, which is called Goobric for Students. And what that does is it allows your students to not only receive feedback and responses from you, but allows them to perform a self and peer assessment. So students can assess themselves on their writing, as well as work in partnerships and work in groups. If you want to get Goobric for Students, you can select this link right here and it will take you there directly. You can also push this to your students by having your domain admin push this link and share it for everyone. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go right into Doctopus. So again, as I said, Doctopus lives in a Google spreadsheet. So if I want to use Doctopus, I need to open up a new sheet, and then I would give it the title of whatever the assignment is. Then you need to go to your add-ons menu. Once I go there, I would go to Get Add-ons. And once I go to Get Add-ons, what do you know? Doctopus is the first one that's here. It's a very popular add-on. But you could type in Doctopus directly, or you can click that link. It will say plus free here, and you'll be able to add Doctopus. So we already have Doctopus, so we will go into launching it. So we just open it here, and then you'll see it pop up on the right. There'll be a wizard that's going to walk you through each step of how to use Doctopus. So right now it's working, and it's just going to load up to our right. And as that's loading, what I'll do, since I'm using this as a demo, you'll be able to walk through these steps yourself, but I've already shared and saved this information. So we're just going to go over to the next tab so you can see what it looks like once you do load it. So once I load the Doctopus menu, on the right, it's going to ask me to pull in a student assignment. So there's two different modes that Doctopus can work under. The first mode is with Google Classroom, and the second mode is without Google Classroom. So we're going to use the mode that includes Google Classroom, since we did do a demo on that earlier this year. And what you need to do is you go to Select Mode, and you pick the first option, which allows you to pick an assignment from your Google Classroom. So again, the reason I would do this is if I want to give my students feedback directly on their assignments that is not just numerically based. So I select the classroom, then I select the class that I'd like to pull the assignment from. So I'm going to pull this from my writing class, and then I can go right there and select the assignment. So again, so far we opened up a new spreadsheet. We went to the add-ons menu to launch Doctopus. Then we simply selected the mode of Google Classroom, we selected the class, and we selected the assignment. Once we do that, this is what you will see. So as soon as it pulls over, what it will do is it'll pull over all of the students in your class, their roster, including their file key, which you don't need to worry about. It's just a unique identifier of the file. And then a link to the assignment. It'll also show you when it was last edited. And it will also give written feedback if you have that to add. What I like about having this all on one, like in aggregate on one sheet, is that in the classroom, I could simply press refresh and it will show me when each assignment was last edited. This allows you to be proactive in your support and outreach for your students, because if they haven't been working on the assignment in the past 15 minutes, you know you need to touch base with them. So now that I have all of this here, I'm going to go ahead and attach a rubric to the assignment using Goobric. So if I go to the add-ons menu here and I open Doctopus, and since I've already pulled the assignment in, it's going to give me the option to attach a Goobric. So if you see here in this button right here, I can select that, and then a window will pop up allowing me to attach the rubric. So I have options. It's asking me which rubric do I want to attach. So you can attach one that you just used recently, and these are the ones that I've just used. Or you can go to our library. What we've done is we've pulled some rubrics so you don't have to start from scratch or from the beginning, but rather you can pull a Common Core ELA rubric from the New York State, and you can also pull like science department rubrics. Once you pull these rubrics in, you can edit these rubrics and make them your own. So you don't have to start from scratch, but you also have the ability to start from scratch. And the way you do that is by going to your drive, and it asks you, do you want to make a new rubric? So there's two different options if you want to make a numeric rubric or a non-numeric rubric. So you have those options as well. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and pick a rubric that we're going to attach. So let's see, we'll go with the Common Core rubric. And once I attach this rubric, it's giving me the option to make the rubric viewable to my students, which is really helpful so your students can also see how they're being graded. It also allows me to have my students do their own self-assessment or peer assessment, and it'll also send an email notification to my students. So once I click Attach Rubric, it will go ahead and it'll create that for me. So I believe I've already done that here. So once you select that, what will happen is you'll be prompted to this screen. This is what your screen will look like. And the only difference that has taken place is that there's a new column that says Assess Document, and there's also a new tab that says Rubric Scores. So that's what will change. So now that I have this here, I'm going to go to my first student, and I'm going to go into their assignment. So it's asking me to use my microphone because, again, we said that Goobric allows you to give voice comments and voice feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and select Allow so that I can do this. So you can see here, it's also asking me if I want to do voice typing. This would actually be good for your students to use, but this isn't something that we're going to use at this time. We're going to go ahead and type in our feedback. So this is what it looks like at the top. You will have the rubric at the top of your screen. And then at the bottom of the screen, you will have your student assignment. So what this does for your workflow as a teacher is it allows you to go through the student assignment for Katrina. I can look through her work, see if she was able to do exactly what I needed her to do, and then give her feedback based on that. So instead of me having to write this on a piece of paper and hope that I don't lose it and it stays connected to her work, I can just select where she lives in each topic. So for content and analysis, I'd say she's a 3. And then for commands of evidence, I'd say she's a 2. She has some work to do on that. So I just go through and I click it. If you have a student that lives in 2, you can actually change it by going, let's see, she's in 1 and 2, like right between. You do have the option to select multiple cells as well, as I just did. So she's a 1.5. And what this really means is that she sits between these 2. I can also give Katrina some feedback, so I can tell her great job on her work. And lastly, I can actually, up here on your screen, you'll have the option to attach your microphone and you'll be able to give a voice comment. Our browser settings are not allowing us to do that now, so we will set that up for a different time, but all you need to do is just click here and then it'll allow you to do that. So you can also email this to Katrina, and you can change her permission settings from Can View to Can Comment. As you know, when students submit work in Google Classroom, they're no longer able to work on it. They can just view the work unless they unsubmit. So you want to make sure, if you want your students to be able to have an interaction with their grading and their scoring, you could change it to can comment and she can give you her feedback. Then I can select submit. Now, I would caution that if you're not going to grade all of your students at one time, don't click submit. But if you are, you can click that and then it will be added. So let's see what happens once we click submit. So I've given her her response. I've given her her comments. It doesn't look like anything has changed. It does tell you that the score was last submitted. If I were to scroll down, I can see that at the bottom of her assignment now, she's able to see exactly what her score ratings were for each topic. And this one has 2 because she's right in the middle. It also adds my comments right here to the bottom. And now if I want to go to the next student, all I need to do is select next, and it will pull up the next student in my class. So this ensures that I go through every student. So once I'm giving these submissions and I'm giving my students their scores throughout, I can just go through quickly. This is how it would look. You would just be clicking exactly where they live. Click submit, it will be added. And let's see what happens when I go back to my spreadsheet. So now in my spreadsheet, I have this tab that says rubric scores. And what I'm able to do is I'm able to see each student's name and see their rubric scores. So all on one spreadsheet, I have the student, I have their assignment, and I have their scores. This also serves as a really good tool and feature when you have parent-teacher conferences, and you can actually filter for a particular student by clicking this little funnel up here, and I can select one student. So instead of showing all of my students, it will only show Jamie's scores, and now I can have a conversation with Jamie's parents about her growth over time. And then again, if I scroll all the way to the right, I have her scores captured, and it also has the number of times I have given her feedback. Because again, we want to encourage the revision process. So our hopes is that you don't just use a rubric at the end of the student submission, but you use it to help guide the students' development of their writing over time. So that's Doctopus and Goobric in a quick zoom out view or a quick demo. And to learn more and to do more, you can always join our community as well as go to our Cloud Lab site, and it will take you through all of the necessary steps and all of the things you can learn. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move back to Caitlin, who will take us through some other add-ons.
Hi everyone, so now that we learned about Doctopus and Goobric, we're going to go over formMule. So as you can see, our little image for this is a little mule. So formMule is basically an add-on for your Google Sheets that sends targeted, personalized emails from a sheet, either as a manual merge or a triggered merge that runs automatically on a timer or form submit. So what that means there is you can basically use formMule to connect to a Google Sheet that is your repository for any form responses. And you can have these form responses, depending on what you want sent out or don't want sent out, automatically emailed to people either in real time, on a trigger, or manually. So what we can do right now is I can show you a very, very quick demo of what this would look like. I'm not going to take you through the how to get an add-on process since Danita already took us through that. But what I have here is a sample, it's a sample spreadsheet, and I'm going to go to my add-ons, go to formMule, and then go to launch. So we already have that there. It's going to ask me, it says it's been updated and it needs my permission to run. I'm going to click continue and then allow. This is just Google's way of telling you that this is a third-party application and that they're not associated with it. So here's our first page of formMule. It's going to ask us to select the sheet that contains the data that we want merged into emails. So what I'm going to select is this form responses page. Then it's going to ask me to either set up a form trigger or a time trigger. Setting up a form trigger means that anytime a new form is submitted and there's a new row of data in this spreadsheet, these emails will be sent out. So I'm going to shut that off because I don't think that I need that. Or I can set it on a time trigger, excuse me. And you can specify a date and a time, or you can have an hourly, day, or even month timer. Or you can go with a third option, which is to just set the merge up without any triggers and then just run it manually whenever you want the emails to send out. I would say that a majority of our users do use the form trigger option, but there are people who do use time trigger, and it all depends on what these emails are being sent for. So I'm going to leave my triggers off, then I'm going to go to next, which is templates and send conditions. So you can send up to 15 different types of emails for this one spreadsheet's worth of data. And this first part is asking us how many unique email templates we want to send. You can name the template, which is going to be, if I could spell, example template, and then we can or cannot send a send condition. So our send condition can be either send for all rows, which means send all the time no matter what the spreadsheet is telling us, or we can have specific send conditions. So I can have an example template sending whenever username equals cgreg@NewVisions. Or if I want, let's say I want 4 different templates. I'm going to leave these as templates 2, 3, and 4. I can send this for how tall is you is equal to not know, which means as long as someone gave an answer for this question, it is going to send that specific template. Then we'll choose another one, and I can send this to null, which means if this field is empty, then send that template. So then we can just leave that one as send for all rows. Then once you're done, you click on Save Template Settings. And then next is when we're going to edit the different templates and create what we want our emails to look like. So once that saves, we're going to click on Next. And just remember, this is gathering all our data, so if it's a little slow, that's why. In this top left corner is where we can navigate between all of our different templates. So if you remember, we did select 4 templates earlier. And anything with a star and asterisk is required. So you have to have a to column. So we can have that to column be my username, since that's an email. The subject can be please read. And then you can just have the body be whatever you want. And remember that the body is HTML friendly. It's also important to note that when you're using formMule, these emails will be sent out, and the from email will always be whoever has set formMule up. So if I am the one who is setting up these triggers, the emails will always be sent from my email address. So we suggest, especially if you're at a school, to use some sort of a generic login when you're setting this up, so that these aren't being sent from someone's personal email account. It's also worthwhile to note that you can include a reply to email address. So let's say that these emails are being sent from your systems account at your school, but you want people to be able to reply to your AP. So we would say reply to ap@newvisions.org, and that means anytime someone replies to this email, it's not going to the email that it was sent from, but rather to this email address. So I've got my template set up. Now, once you've got your template set up, it's also important to note that these merge tags on the right are really important. For my body, I can say, hi, please see below. And I only want to include which of these moods best describes your workday and how tall are you. So that means that anytime I send out this template, it is going to automatically merge this data into our email. So these emails will be specific to whatever that row of data contains. So now it'll let me preview this. So notice how when I click preview this, it changes it, and these merge tags are gone, and it's actually filling this with information, right? So then we want to go back to edit. We're going to go to preview and send all, and this is where it tells me how many emails it's sending out and what they look like. Excuse me, and it's showing me number of emails formMule will attempt to send, 3, number of likely errors, 2. And why is it getting 2? Because there's no recipient for those 2 templates because I never set them up. So that's worthwhile to note also that whenever you go to preview and send all, you can see if there are any errors that may have occurred. So now we're going to click on send now. And this also takes a while, and it's going to send out my emails for me, and then we'll take a look at what that spreadsheet looks like for us. So now that we know this, we can see that for our example template, it shows me that it was sent to me at 13:24, so 1:24 p.m. Template 2 and template 4 were not sent because there was an error in the email template, and template 3 was not sent, but that's because we had set that template up to say, do not send an email if the certain column was not null. So that's actually correct. And that's how formMule works. It's really simple, and it's really, really great for school use. If we go back here, we want to see some formMule in action. I've just provided you guys with some examples of how different schools use formMule. They use it for school lateness emails, for class removal emails, for regents registration, missing lunch forms, student detention, and even staff absence tracking. So now the next add-on that we're going to go over, and I'm not going to give you a preview of this, but we will just talk about it briefly, is formRanger. formRanger is an add-on for Google Forms, and it's worthwhile to note that we suggest that you use this add-on with the old version of Google Forms. It can occasionally work with the new version of Forms, but for right now, until we've done all of our full testing, we say only use it with the old version. So formRanger is an add-on that populates and refreshes multiple choice, list, checkbox, or grid-style question options from columns in a Google Sheet. So basically what this add-on does is it keeps any sort of list that you want to populate into a Google form. It will keep that list up to date in the form as long as a specific spreadsheet is up to date. So if you think about this, this could be really useful if you have, say, student names in a form. Let's say you have your teachers filling out a form and you want them to select a student's name from a dropdown. But at schools, student rosters change frequently, if not every day, right? So you can set up formRanger to have this specific question in a form go and look at a spreadsheet where you're keeping the student list up to date and accurate. And then you know that you don't need to update your student list in the form anytime student rosters change. All you need to do is make sure that your spreadsheet is up to date. So formRanger is a really, really powerful tool, especially when it comes to those sort of list or multiple choice questions that you don't want to have to keep updated in multiple places. And just like Danita had in her slides, if you ever want to, we really suggest joining our G+ communities, and I've provided links for them at the bottom left-hand corner of each of these slides. Joining the G+ community is really how you can stay up to date with the add-ons, and if you ever have any questions or concerns or things don't seem like they're working properly, this is where you'd want to go to kind of find out some answers. So after formRanger, we're going to go over one of probably our second most widely used add-on, and that's autoCrat. autoCrat is another add-on that's used in Google Sheets, and autoCrat takes data from a Google Sheet and merges it into a document, either a Google Doc or a PDF that can be shared with multiple people. And this document has merge tags that are going to merge information from that spreadsheet into that Google Doc, or a PDF rather. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do a brief demo of autoCrat, and we're going to use the same information we used before, because again, all you really need is a row of data in order to have these add-ons working. So we're going to go to autoCrat and then go to launch. And just so that everyone's aware, we know that autoCrat is a bit slow and it's a little bit buggy, and our developer's working on making a brand new version of autoCrat that has lots more features in it. We're really, really excited about this, so look out soon for that. So once you launch autoCrat, you get a menu on the right-hand side, and you're going to want to click on New Merge Job. Once you click on New Merge Job, the first thing that this is going to ask us to do is to choose a template for this. So let's go to Drive, and we're going to actually, just for our purposes, let's try the autoCrat master sample example template. So we're going to click on that, and then it's going to load our template for us. Remember that templates should have those merge tags. Those are those things that are surrounded by the double carets, and that's what helps these add-ons understand that you want data from your spreadsheet to connect to either an email being sent out or to a document. So now what we're going to want to do is name this merge job, and we're going to name it Fake Job, and click Set. We want to select the sheet that contains your merge data, which is that form responses sheet, and this is where we want to match our tags. So tags are things, within your document or within your template that you want to match or be populated by information in your spreadsheet. So this is the step in the process where we want to match these up. autoCrat tries the best it can. If your merge tags match your sheet headers word for word, it will match them up for you. But if it doesn't, you just want to click on this and you're going to want to just populate these, and we're going to just populate here and there. This is not going to make any sort of sense for us, but we're going to do the best we can with this right now. So once we have all of that figured out, once you map your merge tags, you're going to click on Save. And now it's going to ask us what we want to name the document. So file naming convention is really important because this is what the documents will be named each time they're created here on out. At this top, we have a different way of displaying merge tags up here. So these are all the different merge tags that you could copy from your spreadsheet into the title of your document. So let's say I want to make this username, and then I'm going to write example document. So that means each time a new document is created, it's going to have a specific username based on our spreadsheet, but we'll always say example document because I typed that in. So now it's going to ask you to select the type of file you want to create, either a Google Doc or a PDF. For PDF, just be aware that you can't share it, but Google Doc does have that collaborative nature, and we're going for. So we're going to put it to Google Doc for right now. And then we want to click on email and or share merge documents. So for the two, I'm going to put in cgreg@newvisions.org. Subject. Usually I like to make the subject the same title as the document. That doesn't work in all cases, but sometimes it is good just to keep it consistent. And then you can always write in the message, you can write, "Hi, please see attached for your document. Thanks." So it now asks us what we want to include that merge doc as. So you can pick view only Google Doc, editable Google Doc, commentable Google Doc, publicly viewable, and PDF. So I'm going to click on editable Google Doc because I want it to be collaborative. And then we can select whether or not to allow editors to share with other users or to change permissions, which I'll also keep. Then for our advanced settings, if you want, this isn't necessary, but if you choose to, under advanced settings, you can put in some conditional merge options like we did with formMule. You can add a destination folder for your documents, which is really important. So let's try this affinity template merge docs, or we can let's try the Doctopus demo. We'll click on that. And then if you want, you can add a secondary folder key. A secondary folder key means that the document will live in two places. So let's say, for example, you're creating an agenda for some of your teams at your school. Maybe you want all of the docs to live in one central agenda folder that your principal AP has access to, but you also want these documents to live in the specific folders of the departments for which their agenda is for. So let's say English should just go in the English folder, band can go in the fine arts folder, etc. So if you want to do that, this is where you would optionally put in a secondary folder key. And now it's going to ask us about our triggers. So it wants to know if we want to run autoCrat when new forms are submitted, which we're going to select. And it's going to ask if we want to also run it at a set time interval, or we can opt just to run it at a set time interval. So I'm going to say run when new forms are submitted and run every day. So now we're going to click Save. And it's going to take a second to save, but once it does save, we should then be able to run the merge job, and it should create a new document for us. So let's give it 1 second. So now we see where this used to be blank, it's now giving me that fake job, and I'm going to click on Run Merge. And here's where it prepares to run, and it's going to tell us how many jobs it's receiving. It should find one, and it's telling us what process it's in, what step in the process it's in. Now it's complete. It merged 1 job, 0 rows skipped. And just remember, anytime you need to edit a merge, you always want to launch autoCrat from that add-on menu. And once you're in here, you want to click on the merge and click edit merge. So now once we're in our spreadsheet, we can scroll over and actually see that there's now new columns in our spreadsheet, and it's giving us a link to a doc. This is the document it just created based on the merge rules we just gave it. So here we go. This is our sample document. Again, it makes no sense, but notice that all of our information from our spreadsheet is now populating in this doc. All right, now we're gonna close this out. And once we do that, we're gonna go back to our highlights menu. And we're gonna look at our last add-on. And again, autoCrat, if you want to join our community, it's on the lower left-hand side. autoCrat in action, here are some other uses for autoCrat. Schools send out in danger of failing or summer school letters. It's great for college rec letters, for tutoring contracts, for regents registration, for student data reports, student of the month letters, and like we were saying before, a meeting agenda system. Our last add-on that we're going to cover today is called Copy Down. Copy Down is a spreadsheet-based add-on that's usually used in conjunction with either autoCrat or formMule, but we do have some schools that use it just on its own. And what Copy Down does is it automates formula calculations in the same spreadsheet rows as your Google Forms submissions. So Copy Down is only used in spreadsheets that are connected to Google Forms. And what it does is Copy Down helps to preserve any formulas you may have in that spreadsheet. So whenever you have a new Google Forms submission, the way that Google Forms work within spreadsheet response pages is that it wipes out any data that's associated with that spreadsheet row. So, excuse me, normally when you create formulas in spreadsheets, you usually copy and drag down those formulas so that the formulas are present in every row of data that you have. But you can't do this with a form response because, like I just said, it wipes out any information that's in the row that it populates. So what Copy Down does is it finds any formulas in your second row of your spreadsheet, because the first row is usually a header row, and it preserves these formulas and it copies them into your new form submission rows whenever you have a new form submission. It's also really great in that Copy Down gives you the option to paste as value. And that's important because pasting as a value helps take some of the load off of the spreadsheet. So if you notice that you ever have a spreadsheet that's running very slowly, it's usually because there's a lot of formulas in there, and formulas just add a lot of load to the spreadsheet itself. So when Copy Down gives that option to paste as value, we usually tell schools to select that option because more often than not, that's the way that you want to go in order to just retain the speed and efficacy of the spreadsheet that you're working in. So again, Copy Down is a spreadsheet-based add-on, and you can just find it the same way that you would find Doctopus, formMule, formRanger, any of these other add-ons that we have. So that's the last add-on that we're going to cover today. So what's next? This is our last Hangout on Air. We just wanted to thank you guys for listening in on us. We hope you learned some things. If you want to learn more, please visit cloudlab.newvisions.org. It's where we keep all of our information regarding our add-ons. You can also download the add-ons from there. You can read about what's upcoming. We've got some tutorials on there for each one of our add-ons. We've got more add-ons than ones that we've even covered today. So it's just a really great resource for you all.
You can also register for our free micro-cert courses. So these are like P-credit course offerings that New Visions offers, and they're run by teachers and administrators just like yourselves. And Caitlin and I support these course offerings. So if you go ahead and register just by clicking the link there, you have the option to learn about how to use this platform as an administrator, as well as how to use this platform as a teacher. So if you would like to learn more, feel free to join us in one of those courses and we can help you out there. We also have a community for our Cloud Lab. So if you select that link there, If you do not already have your Google Plus set up, you'll be prompted to just go through the setup options, and you can just skip through everything, and then you'll be able to go directly to this community and request access. Once you are in the community, you can learn more about what we do, as well as asking questions. We often provide, a timely response to you, and you also will be able to get responses from other members. I can't express how important and how helpful it would be if you join the different communities, because that just will allow you to learn so much more about all of this work. Also, feel free, because this is a Hangout on air, you have the ability to capture this Hangout and share it with your staff, or share it with anyone in your school that you think this would be useful for. So go ahead and share this from your YouTube so that you can always use it as a repository to learn more and to refresh your memory about how to do the different features and maximize this platform for your schools.
Yes, so I think that that's all we've got for you guys for this afternoon. Thank you all so much for listening in. We really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great afternoon, and we look forward to hearing from you within our community soon. Have a good one.
Bye.